roughly like April
Mm-hmm.
of 2022, and then from then on, I played like on and off for a
Yeah.
while. But I've been playing consistently since I would say like November.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. So it sounds like a couple of months in because we're at what end of January now.
yeah,
Um. Cool. Okay. And I take you're the Falco in this VOD, just from what
yeah.
I'm
So
watching. Yeah.
I try and play Falco, and well, I used to mostly play Fox, but I always wanted to play Falco, and I
Mm-hmm.
was told that learning Fox into Falco was like kind of good to do. Like it wasn't like a bad idea. Like that's what I had in my head at first because it was really hard for me to move with Falco when I
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to start.
Makes sense. Um. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, speaking of movement, I'd say like just sort of like watching through this briefly. I'd say that if you wanted to, that's probably the thing I would probably focus on the most is like developing a bit of a routine for you and
Right.
getting the movement down a bit cleaner. But we can talk about some other stuff if you feel like you've got sort of a plan for that already. Um,
Yeah,
but
let's
it's
see.
really up to you.
There's definitely like a number of things that I think work. Like I don't know how to approach with Falco.
Hmm.
Oftentimes you'll see I get like I throw out these random full hops. That's because I'm failing to like wave dash.
Oh yeah, you're doing it too quick.
Yeah.
Is usually okay. Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. So what we'll do then, I guess, is I'll give you like one or two like in-game like things to think about and do,
Mhm.
and then we can talk a little bit about just some practice stuff you can do, like when when you're moving around on your own or whatever.
Okay.
And I think that should give you a good amount to work with. So did you want to look at this Peach game, or like it says it's like Falco Fox as well? Do you care about which
Um,
matchup or?
we can look at most of the Falco stuff. I think the Fox shows up around like 20 minutes. So
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's focus on Falco for now, and then if you have other questions, you can always like message me or whatever, and we can talk about Fox as well.
okay, cool.
Um, but yeah, okay. So let me just skip back to the beginning. So I'd say like the first big thing, honestly, is just how you're comboing, like specifically on floaties.
Hmm.
And the general idea with floaties is that you sort of want to keep them up in the air. You're not really looking for like super long combo strings. Let
I
me
see.
just get my marker up quickly. Can you see this if I draw?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the colors are a bit weird, but yeah. So like here, for example, um, I would more be looking to try and like push Peach into the air with maybe like an up air or something, rather than hitting her like down into the platform, right?
I
Because
see.
if you hit like a floaty, like talking like Peach, Puff, Samus, those sorts of characters, if you hit them up and over like here, they have a really hard time like coming back down because Falco just has so many more things that hit like above and behind him, right? I'm thinking like back air, up air, like those sorts of things. Whereas,
Mhm.
like, Peach doesn't really have that much coming down, right? Like, if you think about her hitboxes below her, down air's quite small,
Yeah.
air's quite small. Those things all hit sort of like horizontally rather than vertically. So, that's usually the main aim, especially at low percent, is that you just want to get like a safe combo and sort of put them in a bad position. Whereas I feel like there's quite a few times in your combos where you tried to go for like a pillar or something, and
Yeah.
and you just sort of got reverse hit for it, which is not really what we want. So like I thought this was fine, where you like you hit her outwards, right, and then you can see she's got no double jump, and she's in like a pretty rough spot here, right? Like your up tilt hits up here in this sort of zone. Your back arrow will hit like this sort of zone, right? So
Hmm.
it's pretty hard for Peach to hit these two spots. Um, just keep watching for a bit. I'll see if there's another example. Okay, so like here, for example, I would more be looking to try and like push Peach into the air with maybe like an up air or something, rather than hitting her like down into the platform, right? Because let's see if there's another example. I like that you have the Reddit overlay thing on, by the way, for like the missile cancels. I think that's really useful.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
because it's so hard for me to tell. Well, at this point, it's like really hard for
yeah.
me to tell if I
If you hit it or
land
not,
or
right?
like, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to mention later on, but I may as well mention it now as well. I'd also download. So there's one that it flashes green when you're like actionable, like when you're not doing anything, but you're not in lag. I think that one's really useful as well because there's quite a few moments where you're sort of like doing nothing, right? Like there's these
Yeah,
like little gaps between your movements, and I think if you tighten those up, it would make things a lot easier. Like here as well. Um, it just speeds up your character and helps you, get follow ups that you usually wouldn't. Um, I'm just trying to look for another one of these combo situations, and then I'll move on to the next thing.
I think this was our first game, so I mean, both of us were kind of. I mean, he's a new player as well, so
Okay,
we
yeah,
definitely are pulling some weird things here and there.
yeah.
So I've
Yeah,
played other
that's fair.
Peaches and just get bodied, and I don't understand what's going on. So I try and
Yeah.
to like understand what I'm doing a little bit more. I try and just play with like some newer players instead of
Yeah,
being
no, that's
on like
good.
unranked.
Yeah, definitely don't, like, push yourself too hard. I mean, is this person like a friend that you're playing with? Or.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, sick. Yeah, I think it's really good if you can find someone around your level and sort of like improve together. I think that's really good. Um, yeah, and then this is another one, just like sort of whenever you have another character like off stage and in the corner and that sort of thing, you usually want to just have your back turned because, when you think about Falco's down air, right, it sort of hits like this, like in front of
yeah,
him. Yeah, but like we're trying to put a hitbox up like over here, right? So by turning around, that gives us access to like back air, which hits into this zone a lot easier. And you can see that, like, you tried to contest and go up with the down air here, and like
yeah.
you can see how her hitbox is here, yours is down there, and it's not really going to work well, right? Um, but yeah, I think that was the main gist of what I wanted to get to there with the punish stuff. I'd say for the neutral, honestly, a lot of the approaches you're doing are actually fine. I would just sort of tweak a few things. Mainly the timings of the aerials you're doing. So, if I just go back to the start again. Like, you're hitting with a lot of, like, rising aerials.
I see.
So, like, here, for example.
Yeah,
And there's quite a few, like, reasons to do, like, a later aerial over a rising one. So one is that you can see that, like, you're still in lag here, even after Peach, like, has hit the ground, right? Like, you're
yeah.
still in your down air lag. So there's no way that you're going to be able to, like, combo off of it, right? Because you can't act yet, right? Whereas if you do, like, a later aerial, you get out of lag quicker, so then you can combo off of it easier, right?
I see.
Does
I
that
was
make sense?
wondering too about like there was times where like I would land an aerial
Yeah,
and then I would think that I had time to follow up with something.
yeah.
And then I get hit out of it and I'm like, oh damn, like what did I do wrong? It's like I L canceled. I
Yeah.
thought I was like moving fast enough, but that makes sense. That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So that's one part of it. The other part here specifically as well, this is just a weird thing that happens with Falco, is if you down air somebody like out of the air, like here,
Yeah.
and they're not at the percent where they're going to get knocked down, which is around, I mean, depends on the character, but it's usually around the 30s and 40s. They actually just land, and they have only 4 frames of lag. Like, they don't go through any hit stun once they land. So you can see the Peach here, she just lands, and then she can instantly move. She can, like, shield, she can down smash, And that can also be a factor as well. So, in general with Falco, if you think you're going to hit somebody out of the air, you usually want to do a neutral air. And if you think you're going to hit someone on the ground, you want to down air. Because of this. And also because of crouch cancelling, right? So if you try and nair someone, I'm sure you've run into somebody that crouch cancels the nair and then
Right.
like down smashes you or something, right? Whereas the down air doesn't have that problem with it as much. And then the final thing there as well is just that when you do a later aerial, it's a bit easier to time like the fast fall and L cancel, right? Whereas when you do a down air like this, there's lots of timings that the down air could hit at, and so there's lots of timings that you'd need to like fast fall L cancel on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a few reasons. Another one is that like you're better on shield if you hit later, right? As well. But yeah, this person's jumping a lot, so you can see how like this nair hit a lot better, right? Like it popped them up. And, like, you know, if you hit this fast fall L cancel here, you could maybe, like, up tilt off of it, or maybe, like, another nair or something. But, yeah, I think that would help in both in terms of, like, the quality of the opening you get, and also in terms of, like, a execution standpoint, right? Like, I think you'd hit more of, like, the L cancels and stuff if you time the aerial a bit later. And I'll go into Uncle Punch in a bit and sort of, like, show you in game exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Just to make it a bit easier to sort of visualize. Yeah, you can see it happened again here. Actually, it's really quick and hard to notice, but I think now that you know it's a thing, you'll see it more. But yeah, like they jump for a little bit here, and then the peach instantly lands and like hits you, right? And you're still going through all of your lag. Let me just look for the next one. Okay, I think that's good for now, to be honest. So I'm just gonna boot up. Like I'm assuming you have Uncle Punch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna like show you a couple of sort of like drills you can do. Let me just get my controller. Sort of work on those two things we talked about. So sort of like the combos, right? Sort of the low percents, and also how you're doing your aerials in neutral. Because I don't want to sort of like overload you with a load of stuff. You know, there's a lot of things we could talk about, right?
Yeah.
So can you still see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, let me just turn my volume down. Okay, whatever. Okay, so the first one, we'll just do L cancel training. Let's put a target on as well. So have you done any of these before, like the L cancel training or like anything like that?
Yeah, usually if I'm looking to play for like a little bit but not looking to play any matches, then I'll go in here, I'll set the target to like move, and I'll go on like Pokemon Stadium or something.
Okay. I've never had it on move. Oh, okay. I thought it meant like it was moving around. I've like never, what's it called? Used that one before. But yeah, so I think the first thing is, so I want you to do your aerials quite late, right? So I'm just gonna...
Yeah.
Can I put on input display? That's unfortunate.
I think it's into, like...
I can get into this one instead.
Okay, yeah.
Just so you can really see like what's going on. Input display. Cool. Yeah, so when I mean a late aerial, I mean, like, you can see how low this is hitting, right? Whereas I feel like when you were doing yours, it was sort of like that.
It's like, yeah, it was definitely up there.
Yeah, but if you just like watch the inputs as I'm doing it as well, just look at like the when I fast fall and when I do the aerial. So you can see they're like sort of similar, right? Like similar timing.
Yeah.
And that just helps me confirm, like, you know, when I need to fast forward, right? And stops me from, like, missing it as easily. With the Nair, it's not as important that you do it really late. Like, I can do it up here and still be fine. But, especially with down air, just because it's quite bad on shield, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot lower. I'm looking at that. It's so much faster.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you want to take this in stages. So, like, first of all, I would literally just practice doing it in place, like this. And if you have to, even just, like, get the aerial nice and low first. Even without an L cancel if you need to. And then add in the L cancel. And then try and add in the fastball, right? And then, you know, you can add in the dash if you want to. But, I'd say that's really important. But then what I would also practice as well is, like, there were a lot of times with your aerial where, I'm sure when you've practiced your L cancels, you've done it where it hits, like, as you start the move, right? So, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Typically.
but... Yeah, so then there's also a lot of times when you do rising aerials where, like, you'll hit at the end. So, like this, for example. And that one you also need to, what's it called? You also need to be able to, like, hit the fast fall L cancel on. So you want to sort of be, like, adjusting to how the move's going to hit, you know. Is it going to hit really early? Is it going to hit really late? And then changing your, like, L cancel fast fall based on that. So if I'm going to hit really late here, you can see I'm moving the stick way later, right?
Right.
Compared to if I'm hitting immediately, then I'm going to go, like, I'm going to do the input a lot quicker, right? So that would be the first thing. Obviously, you can practice this, like, once you get a bit better at it as well. There's this attack on shield one.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how to, like, practice this. This is, like, another thing. I don't know how to deal with shields very well. I typically get, like, grabbed or just hit back.
Right? Because you're trying to do something like this.
Yeah.
So that's why the late's good, because you can see, like, I can act much sooner, right? Whereas with this down air, like, I haven't even touched the ground before I get grabbed, right?
Yeah. I think typically the most, or, like, the times that I have the most problem with it is, for some reason, whenever I fight Sheiks, they shield a lot.
Yeah, they do shield a lot.
And then I end up getting either, like, down smash or grabbed.
Yeah.
And, like, approaching a shield for me, it's like my brain just goes like,
I don't know. Yeah, malfunction. Yeah, so, like, I think the late aerials like this, you know, obviously make sure you're shining after them to catch the grab. Also, approaching with a laser can be really good, right?
I see.
And then also just simple stuff like, you know, just running up and grabbing them, right?
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing. That's, like, when I realize somebody's shielding a lot, I'll just be like, okay, why don't I just grab instead of trying to attack getting, and I keep getting hit, why don't I just grab?
Yeah, exactly. So what I want you to do is, I want you to replace these, like, high aerials that you were doing like this with these nice and low ones. For now. Because they're just, like, a better sort of, like, default. Obviously, these aerials have a place, but for now, I just want you to sort of focus on doing, like, the level one, sort of like just the safer thing to do, you know? So there's that. And then let's just talk about the combo thing quickly as well. So I just want you to get, like, you know, any floaty, you know, Moth, Peach, Jigglypuff, Samus, and just go to FD. How do you feel about, like, your can you wave shine, like, well, or is that still a bit tricky?
It's still a little bit tricky for me with Falco.
Yeah.
Mostly because I think I can do it with Fox pretty fine, but then the timing seems a little different with Falco, and I haven't quite figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit more hit lag on his shine, which can mess you up a little bit. And obviously the wave dash timing is different as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely focus on getting those down first. Actually, then. Um, but once you do, all I'd want you to practice doing is like getting one hit like this, and then just trying to aerial after that.
Okay.
And you can see where it puts Peach, right? It puts her sort of above us, and then we can sort of like turn around or like play with her above us, right? Instead of trying to like down air. And you can see that like it puts her in a really awkward spot, right? To try and combo off of. But yeah, I mean, we can talk a little bit about practicing the wave shine if you want, if you think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I
or
think
do you feel like you know what to do?
Trying to practice with that, I think, would be good. Mostly because I'm still failing to do it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, for the wave shine, I'd say again, like it's exactly the same inputs as Fox. It's just you want to be a bit slower because he spends more time in lag from stuff essentially. Mm-hmm. And I think is there any way you could like screen share your game actually?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because what I could do is I could watch you do it, and then I could sort of tell you like which bits to sort of like change, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you want to like stream your game quickly.
All right. Let me turn that on.
Yeah. Yeah, just go FT.
And then it's in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah, input display. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, and then you can press down on the D-pad to move the character, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so just try doing it on the character first. Obviously it's good to practice both because it's different timing, right? In fact, if you press down actually, and then press to the right on the D-pad, so that sets a save state. So then anytime you knock them away and they're off stage, you can just press to the left, and it'll teleport back to where you were.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it just makes it a bit easier than having to wait for him to, like come back down from the respawn and all of that. Cool.
Okay, it seems like I mean, right now I seem a little comfortable with it. Usually that is not the case.
Yeah, can you show me you doing them like when you don't hit a target either? Like so just whiffing it, like with the wave shine. Yeah,
or like
that. Yeah, so like don't hit him with it. Yeah.
There we go. That.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the issue is like when you don't hit the opponent with it, you're probably like getting confused with the timing.
Yeah, that would make sense. Also, like just in general, like you see, sometimes I think I'm inputting the direction too soon, so I end up like backflipping.
Yeah.
Which throws me off. Like when I see it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so can you just show me a few more when you're doing it, like not hitting the opponent? Yep. Nice. Yeah, so anytime you get like a short hop and then there's no like air dodge or anything, you're just pressing it too early is the problem.
Okay.
So you just need to slow that down. I mean, honestly, I always like. Can you show me just like your normal wave dashes? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I just always like to think about it as in like down B and then wave dash, rather than trying to think of it as like
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 a
I tried to
singular
split.
movement.
Yeah, I tried to like split it up, and that helps me personally. Um,
Yeah, that does make more sense. Like when I think about it like that, it's like okay, more
yeah,
like I'm following up with a different like thing instead of of it as like one huge like this is wave shine. I'm thinking of shine wave dash.
yeah, and that's also nice for the whether it hits or not as well, because you only have to sort of like check is the down B bit hitting, right? Because
Yeah,
the wave dash is always going to be the same, um, in terms of like it's just you need to delay it a bit more if the shine hits, obviously. Um, but yeah, I would really grind that first before you try and do any sort of like like combos out of it or anything. Um, but I mean, yeah, some of these are looking really clean. I'd try and aim for like the one and the two from the like wave dash frames is what I'd aim for.
when I get stuck in turnaround, is that from me inputting the direction too quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Again, I think that's another one that's if you just think of it as shine and then wave dash, I think it gets a lot easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is tricky, especially because you said you sort of like play both species, right? So that's gonna like muddle up your timings for quite a while, I think.
Yeah. I've been trying to just put Fox on like the back end
Yeah, yeah.
as of late and just like I think I've played this entire month maybe like a total of like 4 hours with them. So not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, definitely recommend like sticking to one for now as you're learning tech skill, because otherwise it's gonna sort of slow you down. And I think it's a lot easier to shift the timing slightly once you already know like what you're doing with everything.
right.
Um, yeah, those are looking a lot cleaner. Trying to think what else. So yeah, so do you want to show me you trying to do those like late aerials then?
Oh
Quickly,
yeah.
just so we can so just do it like without hitting the bot first of all. Yeah. Maybe go into Al Council Trainer for this one actually. I think that's going to be a bit easier. I know there's no display, but should be fine.
Yeah. That's like
I
there we go. Wait.
take you do your aerials with C-Stick, right?
Yeah.
Just so I know. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yep, those are all good. And you can see they're nice and low, right?
Yeah.
That's big thing. Yeah, just put it stationary. Nice.
Oh wait, that's a little high. Uh,
Nice. Yep, those are all
should I
good.
be aiming for more or well, should I try and get it as low as possible or is like because sometimes I see I'm hitting like on the what's called like this bottom line
Yeah, yeah.
roughly, and then sometimes it's like a little bit below the second line. Um, is aiming for more of the bottom one ideal when practicing? Like just trying to get it as low as possible?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Or
the lower the better, I'd say.
okay,
But as the main part is that you're just getting it like A descending instead of rising, and B just as like as low as possible, and that'll sort of make it so that it's easier to hit your shine off of it or stay safe on a shield or something like that.
okay,
So yeah, if you want to do a few more of those, you can even try with like dash jumping if you want like an approaching one. Yep. Nice.
oh that was a little high.
Yeah.
That was also kind of high. Nope.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's like descending, like that one was fine. That one was fine. It's just you don't want to do it while you're
Don't
like
want to
rising.
don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Like try and do it at least when you've started descending. Um, nice.
Oh,
Yeah. So that one, what happened was you tried to fast fall whilst you were still in like the hit lag of the move. So you
I
need to do the
see.
fast fall after you've gone through like the hit lag. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I see what. Yeah, I see what you
Yeah.
mean on that one.
Yeah, yeah. So like when you hit from further away, like try and stand like quite far away and then do the aerial. Yeah, like there. Yeah. You need to time the fast fall later, right? Because you're gonna go through the hit lag later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then try this with like Nair as well. Like you want to be able to do this with all of your aerials, obviously. This one's a little bit harder
Oh yeah. This is.
because you're using A, right? Like just try and place first of all. Nice.
Oh, this is. It's
It's
hard
hard.
for me to like
Yeah,
figure
you're
that
getting
out.
it. There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's nice. Again, it's easier when you actually hit an opponent just because you have more time, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Nair's the hardest one, I'd say. And then yeah, with this one as well, you also want to get good at doing it. Like if you nair at the sort of the peak of your jump and then fast fall, because that can also be useful. There you go. Yeah,
Right.
that one's especially useful for like catching a jump, for example.
I see.
Because again, like we want to hit them out of the air with nair rather than down air. Yeah, that was great.
Getting that fastball timing
It's
is.
hard. Yeah, you just got to delay it a little bit in your mind. There you go.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, so anytime you miss the fast fall, it's usually because you're pressing down while you're in hit lag.
I see. I didn't even know that. Okay, I didn't know that there's like different timing with the hit lag.
Yeah, I mean it just depends on like when you hit the aerial, right?
That makes sense.
Nice.
Because there's times where I like would try and input like a fastball and just not fast
And it wouldn't
falling.
fast fall, yeah, because the hit lag
Yeah.
sort of eats it up. Um,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, so then once you're good at like you've gone a bit more comfortable with that, I'd try to shine after it. Would be the
Okay.
next thing.
Oh.
Yeah, so the timing's gonna feel a bit weird now because you're doing your inputs differently.
Yeah.
um,
Oh.
Yep. So this is also where and I'll send you the link to it, but the green overlay when you're in your weight frames will help
Right.
because you want as little a delay between the aerial and the shine as possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a few times where I try and shine and I'll hit like I'll fastball and I'll L cancel, but then like in terms of getting the shine out, I'm just a little bit too slow, and then I'll
Mhm.
get like hit back or like grabbed or something.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, take your time with all these things. Obviously, make sure you get them really comfortable before you move on to the next thing. Um, but I honestly think if like I usually tell people like, if you practice it like 30 minutes a day or something like in training mode, you'll easily feel really comfortable with this stuff within like 2 weeks to a month.
Okay.
So, um, But yeah, I would definitely recommend, just from hearing like sort of how much you play, I'd definitely say split it like sort of 50-50 between like playing on your own like this sort of thing and playing with friends or whatever.
Right.
And I think you'll see much quicker sort of like improvement that way.
Okay, cool. In terms of movement,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
getting used to Falco's movement it's a little wonky sometimes. Like it feels a little awkward.
Yeah.
Is there like any like small things that I can try and do just like more frequently? Like I don't know, just practicing like dash dancing every day or something like that. I don't know what to do with him.
So like I'd say for the dash dancing thing at least, just get really comfortable knowing how far you can dash with him before you go into run. So try and get a really long dash dance and then go to like a short dash dance and then like everything in between, right? So if you want to show me like quickly like what you do when you sort of dash dance.
It's more like this.
Yeah, so you can go a lot longer than that. So you want to wait a bit longer between pressing from one direction to the other. Yeah, there you go, right? But you can see how you're entering runs sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you want to get comfortable with is like how far can I go before I need to, press back again, right?
Okay.
Because it's obviously a lot different to Fox's.
Yeah, because Fox's is I don't even.
Yeah,
it's
like
something.
I'll try and show you quickly what I mean, and then we can sort of wrap up.
Okay.
A nice thing I like to use for this as well is Pokemon. So because you have this Pokeball in the middle, you can sort of like aim for where you want to go with it. So like the Pokeball is roughly the size of the dash dance. But you can see like this is probably the max length you can get.
Yeah.
But then you can see how I can like sort of vary the length of this, right? Just by changing how quickly I move the stick. And also I can move from one side to the other, right? If I do long one way and then short the other. So even just doing stuff like this and trying to get from one side of the stage to the other with a dash dance can be good. Trying to go as quick as possible and then as slow as possible, right?
I see.
Just getting really comfortable with like the stick inputs. And then once you've sort of mastered that, that's when you can add in like those aerials you were doing, right? And you can do shit like this.
Yeah.
But that's that's a long way off. Cool. Okay. So do you feel like you have some stuff to take away from today then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with mixing up my like aerial timing to just keeping it lower I think that's the biggest thing, as well as like understanding what to do with floaties a little bit more as well. My friend plays Peach, he also plays Samus, which is
yeah, so it's two floaties to deal with.
Instead of trying to go for like these strings, just try and keep them in an awkward spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, awesome.
I think the like breaking down the wave shining is good to get that into my head instead of thinking it as like one concept.
Yeah.
It's like two things put together.
Yeah, for sure. All right, awesome. Yeah, so I tell everyone, if you have any other like follow-up questions or anything like that, just feel free to message me and I'll get back to you when I can. But yeah, other than that, I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you in a bit.
All right, thank you.
All right, no problem. See ya.